So Samsung just launched the brand new Galaxy S25 Edge, and it is undoubtedly going to be a very controversial phone. Like, for example, do the thinness and the other perks I'll mention in this video actually justify the price and the compromises you have to make to have a thinner phone? Like, on one hand, you're paying for, well, less phone. While on the other hand, the thinness does give you a lot of perks. I know a lot of people are going to talk a lot of crap on this phone. Other people are absolutely going to love this phone. I have a little bit of both feelings about this phone. Some things I absolutely love about it, and some things that are kind of glaring compromises I'll talk about in this video. But as always, the full disclosure, this is not a sponsored video. Samsung let me look at the phone before launch, but I wasn't gifted the phone, and they have absolutely no input on this video. But before we get into the pros and cons, I first want to say, if nothing else, I am happy to see some innovation in the phone space. Like, phones have been getting boring with nearly identical designs year after year after year, and Samsung's finally taking a risk with this, with a new design here. And initially, this kind of innovation usually comes at a higher price tag with some compromises. But is phone thickness a problem worth solving? Well, let's start off with the first positive. Not even talking about the thinness of the phone, the first thing is that this is spec'd like the Galaxy S25 Ultra. So you have the Snapdragon 8 Elite on the inside, we have Corning Gorilla Glass Ceramic 2 on it, has a titanium frame, so again, that titanium should give you a lighter weight and more durability, and it starts off at 256 gigs of storage, going up to 512. But the first drawback, obviously being a smaller phone, the one spec that doesn't match the Ultra is going to be the battery life. You're looking at 3,900 milliamp hours in the battery, which for reference, most flagships are about 5,000 milliamp hours with the same, display, same chipset and everything like that. Samsung claims that this has roughly the same battery life as the S25 base model and more than the S24 base model. Once I actually have the phone in studio, I'll do a full test and we'll figure that out. And before we talk too much about the sticker price, I want to mention that this is Samsung, so they almost always have incredible deals if you know where to look. So I worked with Samsung. I have some affiliate links down below. They support the channel. They cost absolutely nothing extra to you. And usually they have enhanced trade-in credits, storage upgrades, or possible student discounts. So if you want to pre-order this phone or you just want to check out the colors and the pricing, I have those links down there. Now, getting into the next positive, the obvious one here. This is a really thin phone. This is so much thinner, and it's like one of those things that you kind of have to hold it to really understand that I kind of do want a thinner phone. Like, I didn't realize it. I thought it was totally fine with a blocky phone like this, but specs-wise, 5.8 millimeters and 163 grams. 5.8 millimeters is like the thinnest part of the phone. I don't actually have a measurement of the part with the lens, but after filming, like, I was walking back to my train and I was holding my Pixel 9a, which is a fairly slim phone, and it was in my pocket with my wallet, both in the same pocket. I don't usually do that, but that's when I realized having a slimmer phone would actually be really nice. Like, you just have so much more real estate in your pockets. And that's not even mentioning a lot of women's clothing that have really tiny pockets. Now, this is by no means a small phone in terms of like the display size, but the thinness could definitely have some perks there. And if you think about it, if all else was equal, a thinner phone you would really assume is going to be better, as long as it's not going to break during bend tests. And we'll do the bend tests once we have this in the studio. As far as weight goes, it's surprisingly the same weight as the Galaxy S25, the little base model here, but getting into a negative, essentially, in my opinion, almost anybody spending this kind of money on a basically flagship phone is probably gonna wanna put a case on it to protect it. And once you put a case on it, instantly it gets thicker. And granted, they would put a case on a larger phone as well, and so maybe this with a case is equivalent to other phones without a case. Maybe there's a positive in there somewhere, but again, you kind of lose that thinness if you put a big case on here. But the next positive, like I said, the display. Now, the display is 120 hertz, Quad HD Plus, 6.7 inches, essentially the same we're getting on the S25 Plus, which is a really good display. Also pretty much the same as the S25 Ultra, just 0.2 inches smaller. And I know a lot of people consider that a large phone, and maybe they don't want the largeness of the Ultra, and maybe this would be better. But there is a negative with that. This is also priced between the Ultra and the Plus. So this is $1,099 sticker price. Like I said, you might have trade-in credits, you might have enhanced, storage upgrades and things like that, but it's $200 less than the Ultra and $100 more than the S25 Plus. Now, the next positive, before we do too much comparing between the Plus and the Edge, which I will talk about in a second, the next positive is that this does have the same primary sensor as the Ultra, a 200 megapixel rear sensor, so you can digitally zoom in with just that up to 10x and get some pretty decent shots. The second lens on the back is a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and I did test this. This does have macro capabilities. I think that's a big positive. But without the telephoto lens, like, it kind of, in my opinion, is a major downside to an $1,100 phone. Like an $1,100 phone with no telephoto lens, while other brands like Nothing are putting a periscope lens on a $450 mid-range. Like, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm alone and I just really value the telephoto lens. I personally use it all the time. I like that you can get close to things. I like the bokeh. I like that you don't have a lot of distortion when you kind of crop in on shots like that. But you know what, maybe, like I said, maybe I'm alone. Maybe a lot of other people like the iPhone 16 minimal kind of style where you don't need a lot of lenses. But ultimately, that does come down to one main dilemma. And if you're looking at the Samsung lineup, of course, the S25 base model is the cheapest, it's the smallest. That one makes a lot of sense. The Ultra is still the most expensive, still the most spec'd out. That makes sense. But the dilemma is going to be around the S25 Plus, where you could spend an extra $100 and get a smaller battery and one fewer camera lens for a thinner phone with a titanium frame. Like, there are positives, but I think it's kind of hard to really justify that if you're really looking at value there. I think for value, the Plus still makes a lot more sense to me. But it's clear that Samsung knows this, and it's kind of an experimental phone for early adopters. It seems they're trying to position this as a smaller Pro phone. Personally, I'd rather just see like a smaller Ultra, like an Ultra Mini, maybe like a 6.1-inch Galaxy S25 Ultra Mini, same cameras, same everything, but just smaller. But I don't know, they came out with the Edge. So ultimately, who is going to buy this? It is a really nice phone. I loved using it. Honestly, if I had one, I would daily it for a while and just see what it's actually like to use on an everyday basis. But the price is undoubtedly limiting. And for those who can afford it, I think there's going to be people who want a slimmer, lighter, kind of more futuristic phone. Maybe in the future, this is going to be a standard thickness for phones. But let me know in the comments down below what you think about the Galaxy S25 Edge. If you want to see the prices, the colors, and maybe even pre-order one, again, I have affiliate links in the description below. Thanks for watching. I'm Mike O'Brien, and I'll see you probably in my updated S25 Edge video once I have one in the studio and can do a lot more of that testing.